Hey, Adavirk over on the YouTube side. How's it going? We are sitting here. I'm getting ready to work on some book topic stuff here. But I'm going to let's go ahead and do some of that a little bit, and we'll get some of this stuff working for us. So, the first one we'll work on for the labs today will be the in the Linux labs. It's going to be fail to ban with metric alerting. So I'm going to give you guys the link if any of you guys want to do it with me, and then we'll kind of go from there. Fail to ban with metric alerting right here. So I'll link it for you guys on the Twitch side and link it for you on the YouTube side. Yeah, it is my birthday today. Yep. It is my birthday. That's actually true. I'm not messing with you guys. We're doing a big party later. We got about 60 something people coming probably. I think that's who said they're coming, right? And then I've got I get a big game truck that comes out. Like I rent a game truck, and they sometimes they bring a truck and sometimes they bring a trailer. I think it's gonna be a trailer this time, and they just have like this big air conditioned trailer that all the kids can sit in. Probably fit like 40, maybe 50 kids in there and stuff. So it's pretty good. Easy money. How's it going? We're just working on the book today a little bit, so I'm gonna be playing with that a little bit as we're talking here. But yeah, it's my birthday, and I'm not making a big deal out of it or anything, but we're going to do a big party over here, and everybody's going to have fun, so it should be good. Boris, how's it going on the Twitch side? Yeah, yep, birthday time, hanging out. That's what we're doing. So some of you guys know I've got a book, and the book is on LeanPub, and the book is about these labs. And the labs are completely standalone, right? Like you could do all of our Linux labs, and you can learn whatever you want. But the book adds, I almost want to say like more color commentary, but it's more of like a reflection. So I have like the reflection questions, and then for some of them I have like the digging deeper where you go spend more time. And these were my notes as I was going through the labs probably about a week ago now. And I've got 2 more labs to go through for this before I start updating the book. And super easy to publish a book with LeanPub if any of you guys are ever interested in doing it. So yeah, thanks for that, Boris. Yep, best wishes and all that. Yep, I am doing pretty good, right? We're going to be hanging out. Oh, the drift trikes. So we also do drift trikes. So if you guys haven't seen drift trikes, those are another things that we go out and spin those things around and have a pretty good time. I got 4 of those, 5. Actually, we got 6 of those. And then my brother's bringing 2 sets of e-bikes too. So we're going to have a bunch of e-bikes over here as well. So yeah. Well, so Boris, that's an interesting concept then. If you've got the book already, anybody that's ever bought a book on LeanPub, when I push the publish button on this, which I plan to do by the end of June, you'll get all the updates. So anybody that's ever bought a LeanPub book, you guys get all the updates forever, which is, I think, a pretty good deal, right? Like, I mean, if somebody's working on something, even though like officially the book's done, I just have all these extra labs, and I'm like, well, I want to put them somewhere, right? I want to give some value to people, and I kind of feel good about that because like then the people that have already bought it, they get that value from having bought it, and then if anybody chooses to use it in the future and chooses to get it in the future, that'll be up to them, but then they don't have to worry about not getting, like they're still getting all the value too. So I think that's kind of a good thing. Ployd with the happy birthday, thank you, I appreciate that. Let's get into this. So this lab stems from, we were doing monitoring, but now we're going to use fail to ban. And when somebody bans themselves out of our server after 6 attempts or whatever our login value threshold that we set, that sets a trigger. And then that trigger is going to go into Grafana, and Grafana is going to go, wait a minute, this shouldn't be at 1, and it's going to alert us out into Discord, right? So there's some things that we need. We need some webhooks. We need some other stuff. And actually, one of the digging deeper questions I would ask here, one of the main ones would be, look into some of the security considerations around webhooks. Maybe find a blog or ask an AI. So then the question would be, what are the inherent vulnerabilities of using a webhook? How can you mitigate these vulnerabilities? So the question is, what are the inherent vulnerabilities of using a webhook? Well, the same vulnerabilities for a webhook are the same ones that exist for using keys. Does anybody here use keys? And I don't mean like keys in your system. I mean like, do you use keys to get into your house? Do you use keys to get into your car? Oh, well, gasp. If anybody ever gets a hold of your keys, they're you for the purposes of your car and your house. You know that, right? Like if you carry a little metal thing in your pocket that can open your house and somebody else can get a hold of that little metal thing and knows where you live, they're you to the front door, right? Does that make sense? Well, it's the same thing with a webhook. A webhook is inherently insecure in that you have to protect the ownership of the thing. If anybody ever sees it and gets a hold of it, they can do whatever they want with it. They are to that system you, right? That is the full authentication and authorization to that system, a webhook. So that is an inherent vulnerability of using webhooks. If you ever leak the webhook, people can dump whatever, whatever the things are. So, Boris, I appreciate when you guys support it. I tell you guys all the time, like, people hop in the Discord and they're like, when's this guy going to charge us anything? You guys can hang out in the Discord for free forever. You guys can do all the courses and stuff. The only thing that costs anything are people that go and find the book. I don't even talk about the book that much. We're just talking about it today because we're updating it, right? So, and most all the stuff in the book was already published as notes in the Discord anyway. So if people wanted to spend their time, they wouldn't even have to buy the book. That's the real secret. You just have to go put a bunch of notes together. But the book is just everything organized. The same thing I tell people with Humble Bundle, right? Like, you guys ever use Humble Bundle? I love it. It's like $25, $25, and you're giving money to charity, which is awesome. But you could go find all that stuff on the web. It's super easy to go find all that stuff on the web. Like you go on Reddit and find literally every book on there. But you could also be doing some good. You could be doing it legally. $20 isn't that big of a deal for somebody that's been an engineer for a little while. It's like that kind of idea that we kind of maybe put away stuff that we did in our teens and 20s where we just ran around the internet and did whatever we wanted, and we start to be adults about things, right? So anyway, so that's that. So so your team is testing Fail2Ban to protect the SSHD process in your server. So Fail2Ban builds a process jail around your SSHD, right, your SSH daemon, and then it keeps anything that wants to connect. If it continuously fails or can't connect, then it just goes ahead and blocks that IP. It blocks it by IP by default. I believe there's some other types of blocks and things you can do in there. In fact, we'll look at it a little bit. There's all kinds of things that you can do with Fail2Ban if you really want to dig into it, right? In fact, I have a little bit about Fail2Ban up here. Intrusion detection and banning IP addresses and all that kind of stuff. You've decided to build a proof of concept, POC, that's a very important term. Another way that engineers call this instead of proof of concept is MVP, minimum viable product. Minimum thing that will work for our purpose to show that we can check all the functionality boxes, right? Because as engineers, guys, we love checking boxes. Checking boxes, going check. The tool does these 7 things. That adheres to the published criteria from the standards that we were given by whoever. Those may change, but I have proven that I can do the basic thing, right? And that's what, sometimes you're proving it to yourself because you've never done it. Sometimes you're proving it to the company or the architects or the other teams or whatever, right? So minimum viable product or proof of concept, and tie it into your Grafana. So we're assuming Grafana already existed in this organization. All right, so let's install Fail2Ban. And then we're going to go modify the Fail2Ban to allow for an SSHD jail. So we're going to set up the jail right here. I'm going to take a drink of water while I'm waiting too. So if any of you guys have any questions, let me know, but we're basically walking through the pinned lab there. The lab's not technically pinned, but you can scroll up and find it in chat if you want. All right, so we're going to go and look at the configuration file. And right here, we're going to modify this set of lines right here. I'm going to go ahead and enable it, hit O, and we can just add these lines right here. So Control-C, Control-Shift-V in most terminals, and we can fix it. We can line it all up, make it look nice, right? It's good practice to have your lines indented properly on a system. But now there's one other problem here. We just uncommented SSHD up here, so we need to make sure that it doesn't exist anywhere else. So I'm doing a / SSHD to search forward through the file. We found this one. We hit N to go to the next one. Let's just comment all of these guys out. So that is the configuration and what we would normally call like directives for SSHD right here. So We've commented all those out. We should be good. Escape colon WQ. Actually, let's just do escape colon W and write it. And I want to show you I'm now down in the file. If I want to search up through the file, I'm going to do, instead of / SSHD like I did to go forward, I'm going to use question mark, which is shift / SSHD, and this will search up through the file. When I hit N, it'll search up through the file for me. And actually, different VIs and different operating systems behave differently. Some end, and some will just continue rotating through and start you at the top again. It really depends on the version of VI and stuff. But for now, if you want to search forward, use SSHD with the / and then hit N, and you'll go forward through the file. If you want to go backwards through the file, you do a question mark SSHD, enter N, and you'll go up through the file. And one of the fun things about that is / is really easy to remember because that's how we search for things. But then question mark is just shift /. So it's super easy for me to remember that. Should be good for most of you guys. So we've already written it, so we can just quit the file. If you hadn't written the file, :WQ, right, quit. Hey, Vivana, thanks for the happy birthday. I do appreciate that. You know, you guys are welcome to just hang out. I don't have my birthday thing up there for anything special. Like, I'm not trying to hit any sub goals or anything like that. You know, none of that. It's just come hang out. We'll do whatever. I'm doing a big party here later at the house. I think I have like 60 people coming right now. And then I've told you guys, like, because you might think, how do you fit 60 people in your house? Well, one, I have a big downstairs to my house. And two, I've got a trick. Guys, this is the trick, right? When you have a party, you have everybody come in, everybody eats, right? And then you send all the kids outside. So I have all kinds of activities out front, like a game truck's coming, so kids can get in there and do gaming for a couple hours. I've got all the drift trikes out there so people can go race the drift trikes around. But the point is, get the loud kids out of the house, and then the adults can just hang out and eat ice cream and stuff. So it's actually kind of, this has been my plan. This has worked really well for parties over the years. Like, because, you know, you love to see all the kids and stuff and all the family. You know, I got a lot of nieces and nephews. But then you kick them out. Then you send them out wherever they're going. Ronaldo, what are you asking? Am I using Windows? My base system here is Windows, I guess. Yeah, but I'm using Linux right now. That's the Linux operating system right now. So I guess what's the heart of your question? What do you want to know? And then I can help you out. But anyway, so check out the file system. So there's no other versions of SSHD in that config. I know what the heart of that question is, and I just wish people would say what they mean, right? Like, you know, come in and the first message you ever send me is like, oh, you don't know what you're doing because you use Windows. And it's like, I've been an enterprise like Linux expert for like almost 25 years, and that's fine. Stick around or leave, but I mean, like, I know what I'm doing. All right, Trevor, yeah, it is my birthday, yep. We are hanging out and doing a big party later, but the party is not a birthday party. We're just hanging out. All right, yeah, the heart of that question is always, you know, people. Anyway, so, all right, so here's fail to ban, right? Here's fail to ban. We see it running, and it's got that SSHD configuration in it now, right? And we can go check that out, but let's go actually test it, right? This is one of the things where we say, instead of sitting around and talking about it, there's this old saying, one test is worth 1,000 expert opinions. Let's just watch the thing break. So we'll SSH over to node 01 in our lab, and we'll try to log in multiple times. And we got locked out right there. Right there was a lockout. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On the 6th attempt, locked out. So we're going to hit Control-C and exit, and then we're going to go look at the failed to ban log, and we're going to see there was a filter, a filter, a filter, a filter, a filter, and then there was the action to ban that system right there. And then right here, now we've got a ban for that IP address that was coming in, node 01 trying to come back to control plane, right? So there's that. Candy Jack, thanks for the happy birthday, and Trevor, I appreciate it as well. So, so there's that. Yeah, hold on. Let's just, there we go. All right, just hide people who want to talk and, I don't know, be whatever. Like, I tell you guys all the time, like, people come in here. This is like a weird thing about streaming, right? Like, I didn't tell anybody to come in here and try to hang out with me, right? People that want to hang out here can. But people come in and they want to be like, I'm the smartest guy in the room, right? Like, I'm the fucking smartest dude ever. I run Arch Linux, or I run fucking whatever, Temple OS, or whatever they do, right? And I'm like, that's wonderful, guys. Like, okay, you're the best hobbyist I've ever run into. We're professionals. Like, we're trying to be professionals about this. I'm trying to show you guys how to do this, like, in an enterprise and stuff. Like, if people don't like the operating system I'm using under the hood, fuck them. Like, I don't, like, it doesn't, like, you know, like, what version of the OS are you using there? Is that Windows? Yeah, and then I've got about 50 fucking virtual machines of a whole bunch of different Linux right here. Like, it's amazing to me, like, the little pedantry things that people try to get involved with about, like, trying to trip people up. It's like, fucking go somewhere else then. I don't fucking care. like, what the fuck? You know? Like, nobody here has to listen to me, guys. No, not a single one. I don't got a gun to none of your heads, right? Like, fucking go somewhere else. What the fuck, man? Like, well, the thing is, like, I'm a hobbyist, too. I play with Linux all the time. But I'm also a professional, and I do this stuff, like... professionally. Like, this is not, I don't know, anyway, you guys will find, like, again, like, I tell you guys all the time, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room to be a good engineer, but you do have to be an asshole to just come in and tell everybody, oh, I'm the only one that knows how to do it. Man, go fuck yourself. You know, you guys didn't see what was going on the YouTube side, but on the Twitch side, but yeah, anyways, yeah, thanks for the happy birthdays, guys. I appreciate it. Yeah, people are ridiculous, man. All right, so anyways, let's go look at the banned systems that have gotten themselves banned out, and there's that one. That one that hit 5-6 times got himself banned forever, right? With a lot like assholes in chat, right? I don't ever unban people. Sometimes my mods do, but I don't, you know, whatever. All right, so we can go right here and we can unban that IP, right? So when we go to do that, right, we come over here and the unban IP is right here. We're gonna set that to unban that guy right there. So Control-Shift-V will paste it. And then we hit enter. Because again, we're in a terminal window doing Linux over, you know, a terminal. So we're going to unban that IP. And then now, if we go look at again for those banned ones, we don't see any banned ones anymore. They're not in there anymore. Lord Processor, thanks for the happy birthday, and Atticus now as well. I appreciate it. Yeah, you know, don't get me wrong, guys. I'm calm. I just don't have any today. I just don't have any. I can't deal with bullshit today, so every time people come in and do that stuff, I'm like, all right, man, I get it. You're fucking smarter than everybody. Like, the same thing I tell people in the Discord. Like, if you're uncoachable, if somebody can't tell you how to fix things or do things better, well, then, like, just go do whatever you want, you know? Like I can't help you, right? You're smarter than me. Like, I mean, wonderful, I guess, you know? Now we can SSH back with no problems. So we're going to exit out of that, though, because we don't want to be stuck here in case we lock ourselves out later. So we did lock the system. We did get back in. We're good, right? So now we're going to do this whole big long setup of Grafana. And because we've set up Grafana so much, we're not going to really deal too much right now. We're not going to talk too much about what's happening. But high level, we're installing some dependencies, right? Dependencies are needed for our software to work. Sometimes your software will install the dependencies for you. It really just depends. These dependencies come from different repositories, though, than where Grafana Enterprise comes from. So we're just going to install them first, right? There we go. Let's go ahead and download the key that we need. We're going to sign that into a apt repository, so our system trusts the Grafana page and has it to install. And then we're going to update all of our metadata and install Grafana. That's what happened right there. Yeah, UG, thanks for the happy birthday. Yeah, I'm just kind of hanging out and not working too hard today, but you know, some people are trying to make me work harder than I guess I need to, but that's fine. I just don't have some patience sometimes, man. Like I mean, I don't even know how to. All right. I don't have good coping mechanisms anymore for a lot of this stuff. Like I tell people, just go be smart somewhere else, man. Like trust me, I've dealt with the smartest engineers in the world, and most of them aren't even assholes. It's most of the time it's like beginners or like entry level dudes that have no chops that have to like pull it out every time they get in a meeting. Like, oh, like I know this and I know that, and it's like, well, that's good. This is what we're building over here. Like wonderful, congratulations. If we run this, we won't see Grafana running yet. It takes about 10 seconds to get its ports open. And then when we see it open, we can do this. And we're going to drop into our instance of Grafana and install, well, we're going to put a new password in it for now. But we're going to turn on Grafana for the first time in the system, right? This will be, on your systems, this will be your Killer Coda lab. This is a default, I have a variable, and it just runs for whichever one you're in, right? There's actually a bunch of variables if you ever write your own Killer Coda labs. They've got a whole template of variables that you can use, and this is one for like port 3000 on this box, right? So this will come up, and I'll say admin and admin. Okay, we don't want to use like stop saving passwords. Just make it some new password, which I'm pretty sure I messed up here. Save it. And now we got a working instance of Grafana in our system. So we come over here, we've set up failed to ban, and we've tested it. Now we've set up Grafana, and we're going to need something in between there, so we're going to use InfluxDB too. So let's go run InfluxDB and get that installed. So we built a new repo for that. We install it right here, and then we're going to make sure it's started and running. As soon as that's done, we're going to be able to go and set up the InfluxDB, turn it on, start it, enable it. Enabling it doesn't start it right now. It's just setting a bit so that when you reboot the server, it would come up. But we don't, in these labs, we're never going to restart. But if you look right here, start will make it active running if it can start. And then the other value is actually setting this enable right here. And you might say, well, what about the preset enabled? Sometimes preset is enabled, but the service is still disabled right here. So this is the enabled that matters right here. If anybody cares about that stuff. All right, so we've got it running. Everything's going. We see 86. So 8086 is the default port for InfluxDB, which is a time series database, right? And we're going to go connect to it. We're just going to connect right into it. And we're going to set up some values here for InfluxDB. And we're going to save some things too. We're gonna remember some of these things real quick. So, all right. So we get in here, we get started. We're going to set a username to. I think when I normally do this, I actually just set this to like test user. Yeah. So let's go open this image in a new tab right here. We're going to do user and something, and then lab and test. So user. I always just use a default password of some type. And then, what was this? Lab and test. Let's make sure that that's right. Lab and test. Yep. And then we're going to hit continue and save that. All right. Now, one of the things it's going to do is it's going to give me a big long string. I want to copy this string and save this somewhere, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just drop this in like to just make a new, right? So that'll just be my string for this lab. Normally, by the way, when you have connect strings like this that end up being tokens, you wouldn't show them to anybody. But for this lab, and since this is going to be gone, I don't care, right? So now when that's all done, I can go to quick start, and I have now InfluxDB, and I'm connected to it. And it actually will start giving me code to connect with Python or Node or Go or Arduino or whatever kind of other things I want. I don't want any of that right now. I'm just going to come back over here, and we've got that thing set up. So now we're going to install Telegraph. So let's set up, make sure Telegraph is good to go. And with Telegraph, we're going to have to set up some values here real quick. So I'll show you guys the values that we changed in Telegraph. They're also literally right here, but this is good to see if you haven't seen this before. We're going to drop into Telegraph. We're going to Shift G will take us to the bottom. Then we'll do like, we didn't need to do that. Do a question mark InfluxDB, and it will walk us up to, there's a listener, we don't want that one. So here's inputs InfluxDB. Let's keep hitting N. I'm just going to hit GG to go to the top again and do /InfluxDB. There we go. So we wanted InfluxDB2, which is the first one. So we're going to uncomment this line, and we're going to uncomment this line. Then we're going to uncomment this line, and this line, and this line. So there's 5 lines that we uncommented. To use the InfluxDB output, we need the URL, which happens to be 127.0.0.1 port 8086. That's fine. But now we need a token. Anybody know where we're going to get that token? Right here. So let's just Control A, C over here. Control Shift V should paste it in. And then the organization, we've got the organization right here as lab, and the bucket is test. So organization is lab, and bucket is test. So you uncommented 5 things, but by the way, it shows it right here. So I'm not doing anything that it doesn't show. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Those are the 5 things. InfluxDB, URLs, token, organization, and bucket by default. And if I do that, and I hit, and then I'm going to go down, actually, I'm going to hit / and type in fail to ban, and that'll take me down here. And I'm going to change these to say inputs fail to ban, and we're going to use sudo, and we're going to change this to true. So now fail to ban is going to be able to be read. So Telegraph is going to be able to read fail to ban using sudo. So think about it. If you're using a Telegraph user to run a Telegraph process, and then in the Telegraph process you say you're going to use sudo, the next thing we logically have to do is go set sudo up for this Telegraph user to be able to use sudo in our system, right? Watch, I'm going to hit escape:/WQ, and I'm going to do sudo-L-U Telegraph. And it's going to say, Telegraph can't use sudo in our environment. And I say, well, let's go give him the ability to do it, and that's this next part. So we're going to vi etc sudoers.dtelegraph. So this is a file now for that. And we're going to just grab all of these, and I'll talk through them here in a second. But so there's going to be a command alias for fail to ban, which is going to allow it to check the status and also to check anything fail to ban client status. So just the generic status or the status anything will be able to be read by the Telegraph agent. There is a Telegraph with no password can use the fail to ban command alias. And then the defaults are it cannot do any of these things. So defaults are not able to go to log file or syslog or do anything with a PAM session, right? So that's fine. We can leave that all. Most of the time, so you might say, Scott, where the hell would I find, how would I get all that? Well, normally when you guys are using an application, the vendor is going to tell you, well, hey, to install this application, you need to give a service account these permissions. And then we would make a service account, and say using Telegraph, we might use like service_Ansible, and then our service_Ansible user that we let our developers use maybe, or service_ whatever the dev team's name is. We would give them certain permissions against certain servers to do certain things. Does that kind of make sense? Then they would have permissions to run their script. Their script as that user could sudo up and do the permission changes it needs. And only, like this is what we call scoping down least privilege, to only allow the thing to do what it needs to do. Hopefully if that's not clear, that's fine, you know, right? Like early on in your career, you don't need to know all that, but over time, you're going to kind of pick that up. So, yeah, Fox over on the YouTube side, happy birthday, thank you for that. And then Yugi and 2 Austin, thanks for all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it is my birthday, but again, we're not playing that up too much. We're just kind of hanging out, and I'm working on stuff with the book. And yeah, so we can verify the sudoers. Now that user, that Telegraph user, can now see these basic commands without doing any sudo or without any passwords or anything. So that's awesome. We're going to restart Telegraph and make sure it's running, and that's cool. That's fine. We see that. See a little bit of an error message, but that's just a warning. We're fine with that. And we hit check. Now, if all these things are working, we should be able to go to this Grafana page here, right? And I can even pull this over here and move it like this. And if all these things are working, I should be able to go over here to Grafana. We don't need that right now, but we'll leave it up. And I should be able to connect to that Flux database. So I'm going to come over here and say connections. And by the way, this is all right here. It's all, yeah, it's actually all right here. So connect to Grafana there and go to create a database or a data store for Influx. So InfluxDB right here. Add new data source. And in here, we'll use the Flux query language. It says it right there, query language Flux. And the local host is going to be http://127.0.0.1:8086, right? We use 8086. If you have TLS and some other things, you can put that down. We're not really worried about that right now, but we are going to have to use an organization here of lab. So lab test, and then the token is going to be that token that we stored for ourselves back here. Let's copy that token, get out of here, put that token in here. And if you hit save and test right now, you should see 3 database sources right here. There are 3 buckets. 2 buckets are built into Influx. They're there because InfluxDB keeps track of stuff about itself for you. The other one is the one that you built, right? And we'll see that here in a second. But you'll see those 3. And then we're going to go and we're going to make a new dashboard. So we've done that. We've saved and tested. We're just going to come here and say I want a new dashboard. And that new dashboard is just going to be right here. We're going to use the data source InfluxDB. And we're going to just drop this query in here. And the query will be right here. Boom. And then we're going to run the query. We should just be able to run it. We can also just save it back to dashboard. Did that not save? We should be able to. There's a way to run this right here, but where is it at? Hold on. Say refresh. There we go. Okay. So now we'll go back to the dashboard here. Now we see the dashboard and it says band, host, whatever. And we're at 0 because there's nobody banned right now. We set the ban to be off. So let's turn the ban on and watch this happen. So let's go here. We'll set it to every 5 seconds. And we're going to move back over here. We're going to go to node 01 real quick. Just bang SSH if you want. It'll do it. SSH node 01. Let's go run our invalid stuff. All right, we've locked them out. Over here, we should expect this to jump up to 1. Also, we didn't set this, so it's going to be a very small jump to get up to 1, but that's fine. But we should see soon that it's at 1. And we don't need it. Yeah, there it is. It jumped up to 1. And we don't need it for the last 6 hours. We need like the last 15 minutes. So we see it jump up to 1. So now we're going to hit Control-C and exit. And we're going to So that's just history here on this node. And the history that we want to unban it will be this one, right? Unban that IP. So we can just bang 13. So exclamation mark 13 right there. Bang that. And that will unban it. And then now if we want to, if we wait a few seconds, we're going to see that drop back down to no longer being banned, right? So this is the start of it. This is not quite the alert yet. We got to still alert it out to Discord. That's the last thing. So, yeah, hopefully this is helpful, Austin. That's the goal, right? The goal is to get you guys into doing this stuff professionally. I guess in some small way, this is not for me to get on here and find every asshole on the internet that wants to tell me they know Linux better than me. I say congratulations if you know Linux better than me, right? Like, but I'm trying to get people to do it professionally. So, right? Like, I don't care about everybody's, foray into Arch Linux on one machine ever. I like maintain thousands and tens of thousands of machines every day. So like, I don't care about that stuff, right? But people think that we do, and I don't know, whatever. People think that that's the thing, right? Being able to do this in your basement. Doing this in our basement's fun, but it's not what gets us paid, right? We got to learn how to do this stuff in the enterprise. So anyway, so all right, so now we have to have a Discord webhook for this next part. But look, we saw it trigger, and then that only went back down to 0 because I released it. If I hadn't stopped that jail, that user was jailed forever. We have no timeout set. You're jailed forever. I don't think we set a 4-hour timeout. We set, if you go to, right, if you go to the fail to ban jail, so bang 7, the ban time is only 4 hours. So after 4 hours, that would have dropped. Sure. In my home lab, I never drop. When people try to get in and like get themselves banned, we never drop that, right? That there's no timeout and no attempt for the bots to get back in and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, so let's set up this last part, which we're going to need a webhook to do. But then once we get that webhook, we're going to be able to send this into our Discord. So here's our Discord, right? Discord's free, by the way. Just go hang out in Discord. And we're going to send stuff into our sandbox right here. And by the way, I have a bunch of stuff that writes into our sandbox anyways. And these are other people in our team doing they were doing labs and stuff. And this is them doing their labs right here. These are them actually sending alerts in for, like Zorgal was doing it, and some of the other guys were sending labs in and causing these things to trigger, right? So, okay. So we got this webhook. We want to get it to trigger. We got to actually go pull the webhook out of my home lab. So I got to go find that real quick. It's here. And I want a VI-X webhook. But I need to know the encryption key. So I got to go find, I got that encryption key somewhere. The encryption key is actually the same password to get into MC Hammer server. So I got to go find what that is. I literally don't remember. And I got to go find it. Hold on. Where is that at? Here's our passwords. All right. So it's this one. Shoot. Same key again. Boom. Now I've got this Discord webhook that I can use, and I'm going to throw that down in this page just so I don't have to go look that up again, right? And then escape :Q just to get out. I don't want to do anything with that. And then now for this next part, we're going to come over here for this lab, and we're going to set up all of these things. So you must have a Discord webhook for this part. Running a Discord server is free. You can always set up your own Discord server and practices. Also, you could use Slack. You can use Teams. So people that are like professionally working and doing Slack or whatever to talk with other members of your team, you could also use this to test and do that stuff as well. So anyways, let's go in here, escape :Q, because I don't want to see those values anymore. And I'm going to come over here to, it's funny, did I close out our, no, here's our Grafana right here. So I'm going to close this. I don't need this, and I technically really don't need this right now. And I'm going to come over here to this, and it says right here, set up Grafana alerting to Discord. Under alerting, create a contact point for Discord. So right here, we're going to go to alerting, and we'll save that dashboard, sure, whatever. We're going to hit save alerting, and we're going to make a new alert rule. Sorry, a contact point first, right? So it says right here. We'll open this up so we can see both of the things. It says create a contact point for Discord. So we're going to create a contact point. We're going to set it for Discord right here, and we're going to drop that Discord webhook URL that we have in there, and we're going to save the contact point. We'll call it Discord. Right. And actually, optional settings and notification settings, we could put other things in there, but let's go ahead and just save the contact point for now. Okay. And if I go and I look at that Discord one, right, if I go edit it and look at it, I can also hit test right here. And it says this is going to send a test notification. I say that's fine. Let's go look. There's our value firing right there. Test alert, test folder, instances Grafana from my system. There was our test alert firing at 8:40 a.m. So right now. Okay, it's cool. That's the start of what we need. And we're going to set the name Discord integration and Discord webhook, collect it from there. So that was our contact point, right? And then you can send it over and save contact point. All right, now under alerting rules, create a new alert rule. So I'm going to come back to alerting, and I'm going to set a new alert rule. And the dashboard can be, we can set any of those things we want. But the first section here, we're going to make a new alert rule. And we're going to give it a name like Discord test, whatever. And the query for the InfluxDB is going to be that same test that we're used to running. That same check for if the thing is firing or not, which we know right now it's not firing because we turned it off. Okay? Good. And then we're going to say when, and let's say the last is above 0. So as long as when the last is above 0, you'll see that you're currently firing if you have a jailed user from the last session. All right. So we will go ahead and do that. And then 3 says we have to add a folder and labels. So right here, section 3 set a new folder for alerts. That's fine. You can just make a new folder. This can be test. Right? It doesn't really matter all that much. Set evaluation behavior. We can make a new evaluation group if we need. And we can call this alert. And we'll alert at 1 minute of triggering. Okay? And you can change that as much as you want. And you can make your threshold really light for when you're going to trigger on things, or really close. Like if something happens one time, we send an alert, or otherwise, some other thing. Keep firing for however long. That's fine. Let's configure the notification to go to Discord, right? So we're setting these things over here, and then set summary to. We got to set some information here. Summary is Scott, or we could say het test for stream. And then description is firing user jail, right? And then we could have, if we had a specific run book or something, we wanted a web page or something where we want to alert people to. All right, so let's save the rule and exit. And now the rule should be set up. And all we got to do now is get ready to trigger that rule. So we can watch it. The rule's in normal. It is not in an alerting state right now. It is seeing it's good right now. There's nothing going on. So what's going to happen is we're going to cause this to trigger, and then we're just going to stay on this page, and this is going to change to like a warning, and then it's going to trigger into our Discord. So let's do that real quick. We'll go and we'll SSH to node 01. We'll trigger this. So now it's triggered, right? And then we're going to sit right here. And this will eventually, right here, we're going to watch this switch, and then we're going to watch it trigger into our Discord. So let's grab our Discord, move this over here. Yeah, so this is going to trigger right here in our sandbox on the Discord. We're going to see this thing go from a normal to like a triggering state. I think it's called trigger. Now it's pending, that's what it's called. And then when it fires, it'll go to a firing state. So it's pending because it sees that's triggering, but it'll sit there for 1 minute, and then it's going to send it over here, right? So we see that in the pending state. Let's make this a little bigger so it's a little more obvious when it triggers right here. And when we did this, this is a standalone lab. You could just do the lab. But we did this as a larger part of the security engineering course, and the idea was you've got a closed-in system. All computer systems that you work on are closed, discrete systems, and even as you build high-performance compute and bigger clusters and labs, your home lab or something, that is still a closed-in system. Like when you're gone away from home, you don't have a way in. But the thing about a trigger is, when do we have a threshold to send things out? At what point do we want to call like a pressure valve? Kind of like if, I don't know if any of you guys have ever put like, some of you probably drink tea, or if you've ever like boiled water and the teapot starts whistling, right? When it's hit the right temperature and there's the right amount of something happening inside of that closed system, it alerts you. Well, this is that same kind of thing. Like the system is triggering an alert that is important enough to send outside of itself. Now, if you just have the system alert you 24/7 and it's triggering 10 to 12 alerts a minute, what are you probably going to do to those alerts? You're probably going to be like, get the fuck out of here. It's the boy who cried wolf, right? You keep alerting, you keep alerting, you keep alerting. We get numb to alerts. When you actually are getting attacked by a wolf, we don't help you anymore, right? It's the same concept. So there is death by too many alerts, right? Overloading. In fact, it's actually one of the things that people do to bypass sensors is you just overload them. It's too much noise, so people stop watching the system, and then that's how you get past it, right? But anyways, firing user jail het Tanis for stream. There you go. All right, so we triggered it. We see it over here alerting right now. And then, back on control plane, we should be able to bang 52. And that'll unban the IP. This will go to no longer being in a firing mode. It'll no longer be firing here in under a minute, somewhere around a minute. Hey, how's it going, Colchis? Yeah, it is my birthday. Thank you for that. I am just running through some of the labs and finishing up kind of updating the book. I want to get the book updated and all that kind of stuff by the end of the month. That's kind of my own little personal goal. So, also, I've told you guys, anybody that's ever gotten that book before from LeanPub, it updates forever for you guys. So you just keep, at any time it's republished, it'll send you alerts and you can download the new version of that book. So that's one of the nice things about LeanPub is anybody that's ever bought anything on it, it always gives you all the updates. So that's a cool little function of that. All right, so now look, this still thinks it's firing, but if we give it a minute, or so, it goes back to normal. Did it still fire the one time? Yes, you can't unfire an alert. You can't unfire a gun or a cannon, right? But we see that the alert was firing right here, right? And then now it's not firing, so it's not going to keep sending us things every so many minutes or whatever. We can set the verbosity of that if we want to. So that's that lab. That's that whole lab. Says you might have to wait upwards of 3 minutes for the event to fire into Discord. That's just me being overly, like I'm giving you much larger time than it should ever be as kind of like a catch-all. But if you sit back and think about what you did in this lab, you set up fail to ban, you configured it for SSH, right? And it went over the SSH D, right? So SSH daemon, SSHD. Then you've triggered it and you're like, okay, cool. I can see a user getting locked in the jail. I can see that I can't get in anymore. Okay, good. Then we backed up and we built our enterprise monitoring solution that was, let's say some other team manages and is already there. So we put Grafana, Influx, Telegraph. We set up Influx, gathered some info, set up Telegraph to talk to it so that passing the data was all the way through. Then we went into Grafana and set up a little dashboard and saw 1010 as much as we needed to trigger or not trigger, right? Then we left it off. We set up an alert. We triggered the alert. By the way, we tested the alert first, and that sent a message in. And then we triggered the alert from an actual event and saw, if that ever happens in my system, boop, I get a little alert. Again, what do we want to send out of a system? Like, it's a closed system. All systems we build are closed systems. When you walk away, right? You leave your home, you're down in Mexico or something for a few days, and you want alerts when certain things happen. This is how you can do it. Some of you guys have been around. Let me show you something that happens. If I'm ever anywhere in the world, right, and I'm always kind of monitoring our Discord, there's one every time, and I know it happened about 30 days ago because my wife rebooted my systems, right? We go up about 30 days or so. If my system, and it was before all this, so let's keep going. Yeah, it should be at the beginning of May. When my wife, we were doing a lesson and everything turned off in the other room, and I was like, oh my God. All right, here we get the system recover in front of everybody. Hold on. Do you see this right here? There's a system reboot alert. If I am anywhere at all, yeah, and this was me mad. If I'm anywhere at all and my P01 Jumpo 1 node reboots for any reason, it tells me. And the reason I want to know that is because if anything ever happens outside of a normal maintenance window, somebody comes in and reboots a thing, rebooting a server in your lab or in your data center is one of the main precursors to somebody taking over a server. There's like, I mean, you could find a way to like metasploit things that are active and on, but that's going to be less common if you've got layered defense. But if somebody can actually get into your data center and boot something, when I have physical access to something, I can always get in. There's only like a couple of versions of Trusted Solaris on hardware that were ever made where I needed a key to get to root, right? Like where zero, run level 0 was that, or run level 1 was actually locked down, right? So, there you go. Wuhan Soldier said my audio's, oh, I turned my audio down. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. That should be a little better. Is that better? I just turned it up. I didn't realize, yeah, I had turned that down the other day because I was testing. Some of you guys have seen this before. So I was testing this and it was busted. It wasn't raising his arm correctly. And it's not doing it right now, actually, in fact, which is kind of funny. Let me move him down a little bit. Really? Hold on a second, guys. Hold on. Now I gotta fix this stupid thing. Hold on. I think I gotta move. Wait, I gotta move to this mode. Okay, when I'm in this mode, it works. Do you guys see how his arm goes up and down and up and down and up when I'm talking and down when I'm not talking? But now back up again. Okay. Anyways, all right. Yeah, that's in a different mode that I'm not doing right now. But like when I just want to hang out. Sorry. So I had turned my audio down the other day because I was testing that and I didn't do it. Sorry about that. Yeah, I just turned it up. Yeah. Hey, how's it going, man? Yep. And I am working on my birthday, but that's not a big deal, right? All right, so we did all this stuff, right? So let's go look at our documentation here, where we say, well, okay, what did we do there, right? Like a lot of times when we do this, where's our book update? So this is our book update here. We look at this and then we say, all right, what did we do? In the last lab, we just did fail to bandwidth monitoring, and we said intrusion detection and all that kind of stuff. And I might say reflection questions. Oh, I got another digging deeper one. So another digging deeper is research what else Grafana can alert out to. Are any of these systems things that you or something you've used professionally? Right? Professionally. Yeah, that sounds right. All right, so check this out real quick. If you guys haven't seen this, this is a fun little thing to check out. What if I came back here to alerting and I went to contact points and I made a new one? I'm not actually going to make it, but I just want to look. Email was the default. Oh, I can send a message to AWS SNS. How many of you have used SNS and SNS Fanout to send alerts places, right? Like you could, SNS can send emails as well. So, oh, boom, now I have in an AMG, which is Amazon Managed Grafana, I now have a way to email out even if the service or process I had didn't have a direct connection to an email. Oh, that's kind of cool. Alert Manager. I can send to Alert Manager, which is actually a Prometheus tool. I can push into Alert Manager, let Alert Manager be my centralized point for messages. Now, you might say, why would you want to send to Alert Manager when this is a perfectly good monitoring solution? There's a thing called aggregation, right? If I have 80 data points that are related, do I want 80 alerts for that, or do I want to see this service is down? And Alert Manager is really good at that. You can group things where if there's like 20 alerts in a minute about the same thing, it goes, oh, I get it. Scott fell over, so obviously Scott's no longer upright. Scott's shoes are no longer on the ground. Scott's waist is lower than his feet, right? Like maybe I have an alert that tracks when I fall over or something. I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, guys, so I fall over a lot, right? It's actually the default. Somebody touches me and I fall over, like one of those little fainting goats. But anyways, that's neither here. I can send out to Cisco or WebEx Teams. I can set to Ding Ding. I don't even know what Ding Ding is. That's probably some tool. Discord, very common. Email, if I have that set up and have a relay, probably need TLS set up for that because you really shouldn't be using open relays in this year 2025 of our Lord, whatever. Google Chat, you can send to Google Chat, but you now need to have your authentication into Google, right? Jira, some of you guys want to send messages directly into Jira. That's kind of cool. Kafka REST proxy, I didn't even know you could do that. Line, I don't even know what that is. MQTT, you're going to have to set that up. Teams, I've sent things into Teams. That's big. But look at all these things. OpsGenie, PagerDuty, I've used both of those. Pushover, never heard of it. Sensu, never heard of it. Slack, very common. Because look, we can just mute the channel. If it's not like for NOAA weather, I have all these Sev1 and Sev2 alert channels. But when I'm not the POC, I get tagged as what's called the @POC point of contact. If I'm not the @POC for primary or secondary, they take me off and I don't get automatic alerts into those channels through Slack anymore. That's awesome. I don't even have to do anything. It just adds me or removes me based on if I'm in that group. Well, if I'm the group or whatever so Slack, Telegram, Threema Gateway, Victor. I literally don't know what any of these are. Generic webhook. If we had just a generic webhook that maybe I didn't want to send this to Discord's webhook. We did use Discord and its webhook. What if I just wanted a generic webhook that just published to a web page that was like, haha, our server was down, haha, our server. Like it's just like a silly little page for our Prolog. We could do that. Hey, speaking of not being a Slacker and never using Slack, does anybody here know why Wendy's always has square patties? This is an old joke from the 70s. I don't even know if Google will tell you this. AI might tell you this, but does anybody know why there's square patties at Wendy's? It's part of your joke, Hayes. So, all right. Reflection questions. Let's think about what we did, right? Reflection questions. The things that we did in this lab that were unique to this lab started after section 2, actually. Do you want to know, Hayes? This is like the corniest joke ever, but this used to be one of their ads. Because nobody cuts corners at Wendy's. So Wendy's has square patties because nobody cuts corners at Wendy's. Now, for people that are not native English speakers, cutting corners is another way of saying like you're slacking off or you're not doing your full work. You're kind of like you're cutting corners. Like you're let's say you were cutting a lawn and you were like skipping the corner. That's like cutting a corner. You're not mopping well or whatever. Like you're cutting corners. So the joke is, like if you had square patties, it's because nobody cuts corners. So nobody takes the cheap, easy road or whatever. It's the joke, right? All right. But again, it's one of those things. If you got to explain the joke, it's not as funny, right? So let's go look at these, and then we'll think of our reflection questions in relation to what we already know, right? What about intrusion detection? So we talked about that up there. So let's go to when you tested your alert, why was it important to fill out the messages or let's go look over here. Why was it important to set up the No, that's not really good. That's not really a good question because I don't think I actually asked you to do that. We did it in the lab, but I didn't show you guys that. So let's go over here and let's just say, what are the other research? What else? Growphonic can alert out to, are they systems? Okay, so the reflection questions are going to be about what we actually did. When you look at the Flux query, when you look at the Flux query for the lab, right? So you've got these time frames and all that kind of stuff. Do the filters make sense to you from the configuration that you made for fail to ban? So, do you see where you're searching for SSHD and band? And yes, we do see it right here because they're filters, right? They're filters that it's looking for jailed and banned. So if SSHD or banned were not there, we wouldn't have it. Now, so part to that question then, a reflection question would be, could this maybe still be part of this? Reviewing etc failed to ban, right? So if we go look at this file here, and let's say we like HTTPD, right? That was httpd.conf, right? Oh, jail.conf. Could you set, so HTTPD, right? And where's this one at? Okay, so that's just monitor X. Okay. Could you change that query to look for HTTP traffic in the fail to ban logs, right? So could you change that longer query here to, instead of look for SSHD and band, to look for something like HTTP and band, right? Or, guys, there's a tremendous amount of things in here that you can track and look at. So here's HTTP auth in general and looking for Nginx errors. There's a lot of stuff, right? Viewing and searching for HTTP and Nginx. Nginx has a lot of them. There's a lot of things that this thing can do with Nginx, and it can keep track of. Okay. Bad requests. People are doing bad headers coming into your Nginx. Could you track those things? Look for HTTP or Nginx traffic in the failed to ban log. So if people are doing things they shouldn't do and it's getting into failed to ban, could you go look at it here? I think the answer is yes. You could modify this and figure that out if you needed to. Okay. All right. Our lab expires in 4 minutes too because I've been talking so long. All right, you have to wait upwards of 3 minutes for it to fire. Okay, so then come over here, and what other reflection type questions might there be? Let's go look at our actual alerting alert rules. Did you see the alert rule change from normal to firing? What was it? It was normal, and I thought it was like triggered. Or sorry, it was normal, and then it was something, and then it was firing. I forget what that other thing is. Yeah. Normal to something to firing. I forget what the other one was, but remember we saw it actually triggering. But we can do show state. There it is. Normal, pending, and then alerting. Normal, pending, to alerting. Your contact point, right? So did it go out to your contact point late? It should. Hayes, you said you performed your first major deployment to your test environment at work. Nice. Nice. I know you were working on that for a while, Hayes. So I know that you had talked about trying to uncluster F a bunch of their stuff. So that's kind of good. Sankit, thanks for the happy birthday. Yeah, I'm just kind of hanging out today a little bit before I've got a big party later. So I'll post pictures up in the Discord later of people hanging out and doing the drift trikes and stuff. Some of you guys have seen those, but people always have a good time with it. But yeah, all in all, I think that lab, I think that's a pretty good take on that lab then. So what did we do? We, again, we built out Grafana to send an alert. We saw the alert pop up in Discord, and then we went all the way down here to the bottom of this. And we watched those alerts come out, firing for the user. You can also have this thing fire when things are cleared. So this was it firing, and then this was it resolving down here. So you can have it set like that by default, or you can turn that off, right? If you do want to see things, even if they're flapping. And again, you guys might think this is silly, but this is exactly what I have in Slack for, NOAA weather right now. I'm tracking all that stuff, tracking everything that could be happening across this big, cluster system that we run. So this is real type stuff right here that you guys could be doing. All right. So anyways, that's Killer Coda Lab. That's free. You guys can go in there and do that lab. And then I'm writing these kind of extra, they're kind of like journaling things. They're reflection questions and digging deeper for you to do the lab and then go think about it more. That's what this book update is here. So I'm going to be putting these all in our LeanPub book. I have one more to do then. I did a bunch of these the other day on stream. And the last one is Enterprise Ansible patching. So I have to go do that one as well. Marianne G, thanks for the happy birthday. Yeah, it's one more trip around the sun, right? That's all it is. It's just it's the way us engineers think about it. Just one more time around. So nobody asked, but I'll tell you guys I'm 44 today. And nobody asked, do you guys know that I'm an Irish twin? And do you guys know what an Irish twin is? And then also, before I get canceled, I am Irish, so I can say that. My family is heavily Irish. In fact, 2 of my brothers have very red hair, and it's kind of funny. Actually, one of them will be over tonight. Do you know what an Irish twin is, though? So me and my older brother are 355 days apart. So I turned 44 today, and he stays 44 with me until June 17th, and then he turns 45. So Irish twins are where you and one of your siblings are less than a year apart. It is a derogatory term from the Irish, about the Irish, but I'm Irish, so I can say it, right? And you say, I didn't know it was a derogatory term. Well, you're just basically saying they're baby factories, so it kind of is a derogatory term. But yeah, I'm an Irish twin with my older brother, which is kind of funny. So, all right, let's go. Hold on, I need to pull that back up. Let's pull this up for a second here. We'll use this one for our labs. All right, Killer Coda Labs. I think like for me, I mean, I'm like, I probably care less, but yeah, a lot of times people don't, because then if you know how old I am, it's very easy to figure out when my birthday was, and then if you find that in my social and some other things, it's not hard to take over my identity, right? Oh, this last one's an Ansible. Oh shoot, I need to do one other thing. Hold on, I don't think I captured in that lab. Yeah, I need the link. So hold on, I need to go up through chat and find where I linked that to you guys. Hold on. Whoops, nope, not the whole thing. Just that. Boom. Metric alerting. Boom. There we go. All right, now we're gonna do this Ansible lab. One other thing too that's kind of important. Tomorrow on Sunday, I almost always do all labs, but I am 1 week behind on our security engineering course, which finishes up next week. Next week we'll do week 11. We'll just meet up. We'll talk. It won't be an official week because week 10 was the last week, but I still have to record Unit 10. When I did Unit 10 live with the guys, it took me an hour and like 55 minutes because I just brain dumped. So where I'm going with that is we're going to have to, I have to do this presentation tomorrow. I have to record this. It's very long. And it's very long because it's tying in everything we did for the last 10 weeks, right? All the 9 previous sessions. And it's talking about the goal of the course was not to make you guys drones or to make you guys understand Security Plus from CompTIA or something. It was to make you effective Linux engineers in this space by teaching you guys the trade-offs and the decisions and the actual tasks you were going to do, right? And these were the tasks we did. We did build standards compliance, securing the network, user access bastions, systems updating and patch cycles, monitoring with parsing logs, monitoring with alerting. We did configuration drift and remediation, and then certificates and keys, right? Those were our areas. So then this when I do this talk tomorrow, it's going to talk about engineering in general, and then it's going to walk through the course and show you guys that I didn't want you to just like be a drone when you're done. I want you to understand the trade-offs in security, right? And then yeah, Lord Processor, what I would tell you is you could definitely catch up in the course, but I don't know if you'll get the final project done. So you could definitely start doing the course. And by the way, for people that want to do the course, you come up here to beginner start here, which is right here. And I've got everything recorded in there except for this last one, which I'm going to do tomorrow probably. And then we'll be good. There's a big project that we're going to have done by the last week. So next, I think I made the project due. So Lord Processor, to catch up, you have until the 21st of June. That's going to be my cutoff for all of the security course. So that's 2 weeks to crash through it all if you guys wanted to. It's about 10 hours of work a week. And then that project, I expect that project to probably be about 20 hours worth of work. It's a lot of, that project's a lot of work. I have to do it for myself too, for a customer. So yeah. So there's like a lot of stuff there. Marion said, speaking of, any thoughts on ASUS routers vulnerabilities? I mean, with any like hardware vulnerabilities, I would tell you that you just have to make sure you're patching things, make sure you're updating them, and your network can't be your only layer of defense, right? So like if you pop my network or you pop an ASUS router and get in, there should be something else stopping that from just being, you just topple the whole network because you got in. Like, no, there should be the next layer, which is now your SSH connection, and then the next layer, which is, well, you can't really scan my ports because I only have certain ports open, and the ports that you can connect to, you need TLS to talk to me. So now you can't. Okay, good. You can't talk to anything. Like that's the layer. We want to have a layered model. So I would tell you that my main thing about like hardware devices that you buy is just keep them patched and updated. Make sure that you're logging everything that happens in them so that you're tracking attacks, and then make sure that you are doing the best practice deployments on them. After that, you can always do intrusion prevention. Right, intrusion detection is all your logging and stuff and SIEM and making sure that people aren't getting in, and then the next level of that is blocking people and stopping things. So that's like a whole layered approach, if that kind of makes sense. Which, by the way, the nice thing about that is it doesn't matter if we're talking ASUS routers or Cisco devices or whatever. The defense is always the same. Make sure everything's updated. Make sure your configurations are correct. Track usage coming in. Best case is to some kind of automated system, and then have a so that's intrusion detection. Intrusion prevention is the last part, and that is just stopping things. That's all before we start talking about then layered defenses after it, right? I actually have a talk, if you guys want a talk that I gave. We were talking this even yesterday, just compute and data security, right? If I just pull this one up. Right, this is just my normal little compute and data security talk. And at a real high level, we won't go into all of it, but how do we do defense in depth, protecting data security? And this is the defense in depth idea. Like in the cloud, we don't have the physical security anymore, but you do have physical security in your home. Don't let people come in and connect to your stuff. But then you also control identity and access. So how people connect into Wi-Fi is a measure of defense. How people log into things that are exposed is also a part. So identity and access is your in the cloud defense. Because we used to just do defense in depth, and it was like keep people out of your data center, keep people from being able to reboot your shit. If somebody gets in your data center, keep them from being able to open racks by having locks on the, like track when servers reboot, because that's when people are trying to get into them. Like this is, yeah, and it's like I tell people like the attack patterns and the attack everything is always the same, right? It all looks like this. It always looks like this. There's never a deviation from it, and any deviation from it is still captured by doing the right thing, right? So it's attack.miter, right? This is what the attack matrix looks like. This is the general idea of how people attack. Now there's different things, but it's reconnaissance, resource development, initial access, execution, persistence, privilege escalation, defense evasion, credentialed access, discover. Like it's some variation of this to this, right? Getting command and control of your systems and pulling data out, right? Command and control can take over availability and integrity. Exfiltration is confidentiality, getting data out, right? This is all of it, right? Get your hands on devices and wrote custom. Okay, yeah. You can definitely do all that. All right. Yeah, I don't know if we were going all into this, but yeah, protect your stuff. How we access the cloud and how we lock down all of our API calls, that kind of stuff. This is a different talk that we're not doing right now necessarily. Troubleshooting. All right. Anyways, that's there's recordings on that somewhere. Let me pull the book back up, and we're doing enterprise patching today. So let's go look at this one. I haven't looked at this one in a while. Reflection question: where is the Git stored on your machine? All right, so this is Ansible patching. We're gonna git clone when you clone it. So we're in our system. It's gonna take a second to install Ansible, I think. As soon as it installs Ansible, we're gonna do a git clone, and we're gonna pull this open repo I have for this thing called HPC deploy, right? HPC deploy was meant to do a whole bunch of other things that I haven't written all of them for, and the community is welcome to help with that if they want to. But I have a whole bunch more things to do with it. But for now, I use it as part of the deployment for some of these labs. And in this lab, I have it set up for your patching, right? So that seems like that's taking a long time. This is supposed to be installing something in the background, so. So we're done there. Let's clone our HPC deploy down. And where is it stored? In HPC deploy. So we'll cd to HPC deploy. And in here we've got a bunch of stuff. And the very first thing it says to do is to do an action install against this package's updates or install. So we're going to run that playbook, and then we're going to go over here and look at what the tasks are that are running. What are the tasks run? What are skipped for each system? Where are tasks run? Let's say for each system. Which ones are skipped? So over here, Apache was installed on one of them, but it was skipped on the other. And then MariaDB was installed on one and skipped on the others as well. Marion said filters on router, and then guests can use their data mobile because I surely don't want their data on my network. Yeah. So Marion, there's a whole discussion to be had there on if you're talking like when people come on and do like Wi-Fi, and typically we'll have like a corporate Wi-Fi, and then maybe we'll have like a sensitive data Wi-Fi, if that's even open. I don't like leaving that open, but it's still locked down, but it's still just another connection point. And then we'll have like guest, and guest almost always gets dropped in a VLAN and can only go out of your network. So a guest can get on and like play their Archero or their fucking games on whatever their phone and look at their cat videos and stuff, but they can't access corporate resources. They're dropped into a VLAN. It's almost like you just like drop them in a little chute and shoot them out of your network. They can, oh yeah, they could go and like, I don't know, I guess you get your system in trouble going to like shit they shouldn't do on the internet, but that kind of stuff is still being tracked as far as it's not going against your corporate infrastructure, if that makes sense, right? Yeah. So, well, if you don't want people's data on your network, then you don't want guests, right? You have to just say, and guys, that's a perfectly acceptable security posture. You could have, right? I tell people all the time, if you don't have good security procedures in your organization, go write them, right? SANS.org, right here, information security policy, right here, SANS.org. And you can say, you know, what do we allow for Wi-Fi? You can filter this all kinds of ways. But these guys have free. Let me download this here. Let me make this a little bigger. These guys have all the free stuff for security policies and templates that you guys can use. Yeah, guests are good. Guests don't have to be allowed. Nobody says you have to allow guests. F them. If you don't want them allowed, don't let them. But let's say we wanted to filter here on I don't know, identity and access. Who are we going to allow, to connect, and who are we going to allow on our network, right? We're going to have policies and that kind of stuff, and then you can download any of these policies and use them. It says right here. Let's go look at the .pdf. But if you want to download the doc, it says right here on all of these that they are use, and here's the terms of use. And it says right here, as long as you're using it for your organization, you can use it, right? That one's a little different than most of them. Most of them just say use it. Says it right at the top. Yeah. Cybersecurity policy, and that tells you right here to use whatever you want. Kind of want to look at that crfsecure.org, but they've always had it just available for anybody to use. They just tell you to change your company's name on there. But I tell people, if you have no security policies, how is anything wrong in your network? What keeps somebody from watching porn on a desktop? Good internet, being a good I mean, if there's nothing that says that that's wrong, I mean, it's distasteful, sure, but if it's not against the law where you live, which most of the time it's not, it's just considered distasteful. If you don't have an acceptable use policy for it, what are you going to do? Fire the guy? They're going to sue the shit out of you. You don't have anything that says I can't do that perfectly legal thing, right? So, yeah. So you gotta think about that. If your organization just lets people on their computers without an acceptable use policy, you're just asking for it. You really are. Government systems have a banner that's always displayed. Like, hey, you're entering a government system. We can monitor. We can do this, do that. If you don't accept these terms, get the fuck out of here. And if you don't want to be monitored, then you need to leave that system because you're going to be monitored, right? So now, so I said, what is in the patch? So cd to etc ansible facts.d facts.d. Yeah. So what variables do you see in the etc ansible patching? etc ansible facts.d patching.fact file. So, and then what is the format of that file? Anybody know what the format of that file is just by looking at it? It's one of those very important ones that people use often. It's a key value pair one. It is semi-structured, right? It's not like a database or something, but it's semi-structured, or what might be called. It's used in NoSQL databases often. Definitely some type of JSON, right? Or JSON, whatever way you want to call that. There you go. Boom. All right. So now we're going to patch. So we're going to cat the file. Oops. We're going to cat the file enterprise patching. So what are all the roles down in, or roles found in 04 which ones happen all the time, which ones happen only when certain variables occur or exist. So you see down here, only if this thing exists, then we do the roll reboot. Otherwise, we don't. And down here, only if this exists and it's defaulted to false, but it's also true here, does that report come out. Only if we want to report. Oh, Ultimus, yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I hit 5K. I wasn't even streaming the last few days, and we hit 5K over on Twitch here, so that's kind of cool. Doesn't really help. Like, Twitch doesn't... The bars you have to cross for Twitch for certain things don't include users or followers, I think, except for, like, maybe, like, 50 followers. I think, like, when you first go to get affiliate, you have to have, like, 50 followers. You have to have 3 people watching you on average for, like, 7 days over the course of, like, 10 hours or something, and then something else. Like, that's, like, affiliate. Partner, you have to have, like, 75... Over the course of 10 days, you have to have 75 average viewers, which is, like, I don't know, that's, like, unattainable for me. So, I'm just... I'm just collecting users or followers slowly over there. But yeah, Ultimus, I appreciate that. Yeah, we're just hanging out, and it's my birthday today, so I'm just kind of hanging out before my big party later. By the way, the party's not even a birthday party. It's just a summer kickoff party. It's Rangers, like, I think this is Rangers last summer, because Rangers doing, guys, he's not hurting, he's not sick, he's not whatever. He stands up really slow. He coughs a lot. He's just an old dog being old. So, like, everybody's going to come and hang out. It's going to be his last big huzzah. We'll get pictures with him, with everybody. And then I think this is like his last, last big party. So, and also I can't do Ranger Cam today. So if anybody wants Ranger Cam, I can't do it because I have the whole downstairs is turned into like a nice party setup. So, yeah, I appreciate that, Yadav, on the YouTube side, and then Ultimus over on the Twitch side. I appreciate that. Let's do this last little part here. Let's run this and execute the playbook and see what happens. So 5 might be, what are the interesting output that you see from, or what are the interesting outputs that you see from the execution of the 04 enterprise, patching.yaml playbook. So it's doing some stuff. It's patching. There we go. That's fine. It's upgrading all the patches. We didn't put a time on the front of that, but I'm a big fan of like using time to see as like a little stopwatch how long did things happen. If I was going to turn this process over to one of my junior engineers, I don't want them stopping at like 19 minutes when the average time that I saw it take was like maybe like 20 minutes. I would love to put, like, I like actually doing this if I have procedures and stuff. If I know a certain part of my procedure is going to take like 10 to 15 minutes, I'll say that. I'll say, hey, this averages 10 to 15 minutes. Go grab yourself a drink, walk around a little bit, and come back. And this is what a good output will look like. This is what an error looks like. Errors will break right away. A good output will take, 12 to 15 minutes or something. Whatever I've seen. Because I'm telling you, I'm one of these guys, I'm 5 minutes into waiting, and I'm like, why isn't this working? Why? Oh gosh, something's busted or whatever. I wish somebody would have told me. It's a little different when I'm building something for the first time. I'll be like overly patient with stuff, but I will still try to track the time that things take because it's very important. If you were running on a dev node where there's no load versus now you're going to run it and it's processor heavy, but you're going to run it on like a prod system late at night and there's like batch running. Well, you shouldn't be working on batch servers, but let's just say that under load it takes twice as long or something. That might be useful for somebody to know, right? That somebody could make determinations on their time based on that, right? This is taking a while because it's upgrading all packages on both boxes. And then we're going to go ahead and move forward. And it says, look at you learning Ansible. You have reviewed and patched a fleet of servers. You saw a bunch of things happen, right? These are interesting. It shows me that it's patching everything. I think we added some verbosity to this just so that we could see it happen. Yeah, I think we added the -v in there, yeah. So it's being a little more verbose on its output, but then now you can see Does the system think it needs to be restarted? Does it think it has a new version of the kernel, right? We're not on the kernel that we want to go to. We want to go to 6.8.0-60. We're on 6.8.0-51, so we're going to a new version of the kernel on reboot. And then we go down and we look through everything, and then we see it. There were a bunch of things that were okay because we were just checking, but then we see all the things that passed or whatever. Right. All right. That's a pretty good one, I think. So digging deeper. I might say for digging deeper on some of these is like Ansible roles, right? So here's roles. So maybe you review this and see how else you would use for more interesting things you can do with Ansible roles. How do roles allow for playbook modularity? So let me show you guys something. This is kind of interesting for people that maybe you're looking at this and you're like, why the hell do you use a role? Couldn't you have just taken all those things and just put them in here as tasks? Yeah, everything in there could have just been a task in this one big playbook, and it would have been a big monstrosity and stuff. But what if there were me and a bunch of other people working on this directory? So maybe we were all using this to like build servers or build server functions. And this actually happened to me a few years ago when I was building out all the Noah stuff. Well, what me and the guys did was we could all be working on these here. So app validation, data gather, dungeon setup, fact put, all these different things that are components. They're almost like little functions. They're almost exactly like functions, right? And what happens to a function you never call? Just a little bit extra code in your system, right? Maybe not, like maybe something to be cleaned up later, but here the point is any one of these playbooks out here that any of us write could call any number of these, provided that we understand how loosely or tightly coupled they are. And then do we understand how it all works together? LG, yeah, thanks for the happy birthday. Yeah, it is my birthday. I am hanging out today, not working too hard. I just wanted to get on because I haven't streamed for a few days. Set up the last of this I'm pretty close on getting this book update like kind of roughed out, and I'm going to start throwing it up into the book and then start getting some. What I'll do is I will do I have a preview publish that I can do before I push the real publish. I'll do a preview publish. We'll review everything probably on stream where we go through everything, and everybody that wants to see the book and what it kind of looks like can do that with me. We'll make sure everything's good, make sure everything, no typos, no little stuff like that. And then when probably a little bit before the end of the month for sure, I'm just going to push out a big update of the book. So it'll be like a republish, and then we'll have, 10, 15 extra labs in it or whatever. So anybody that already has the book just gets the update. It'll just send them an email and say, download it again. So yeah, LG, it's actually funny. I'm hanging out here. The wife went to go do some stuff. We got the party stuff all set up downstairs. So I've got 30 something chairs for people, and then we're having subs, like Good Sense subs and Barrow's Pizza later, so I have all that planned out. Got all the drinks in the fridge. I'm gonna go get ice later and throw that in the freezer. I got a couple of ice stations. I have one of those. You guys ever seen those? It's like a little inflatable palm tree, and then you can put all the drinks in the bottom of it. It can hold probably like 80 drinks in there, and then anyway, so like we expect a lot of people to be here. So so I'm working on my birthday, but I'm also chilling right now. This is relaxing me before I have to go deal with kind of the stress of a party, and then the party truck will come, and it's got all the games in it, and the kids do dance on the driveway. It's kind of fun. Mostly the girls. I don't want to say it's all girls. It's mostly, like, I'd say 99% girls, but sometimes one of the little boys will dance or something. But like they do dance on there, and then they can go in, and there's a bunch of games and stuff like that inside. And then I have the drift trikes outside, so we go and ride the drift trikes in the cul-de-sac by us. So it's pretty good. Pretty good time. It's pretty good setup for. We got about 60 people coming, and I expect more to come that didn't tell me that they were gonna come, but that's fine. We'll just order more pizza. We don't care. I'd rather I do the pizza in drops, so it's like we'll have all the subs, we'll get the pizza, and then an hour later I'll get more pizza if like people are still munching and stuff. So also I have like I don't know, probably like 130 bags of chips somewhere, like little bags of chips of different types that I ordered off of Amazon. So yeah, we're pretty set up for the party. Actually, I have pictures of it. I'll post them in the Discord later. You guys can see the party prep and Ranger sitting there with all the tables around him. It's kind of funny, because we turn Ranger's room that he normally has all to himself into like a big party room, and everybody hangs out with him and stuff. And it's kind of Ranger's party more than mine. So. Anyway, so you could go look at any of the roles. Review all the roles down in HPC roles in your directory and look at what you could add to the playbook. Could you add your own role in there? Yeah, could you make your own role in there if you needed to and add it to the thing? Not worried about pushing the get back up or whatever, although you could if you knew how to do that. I think you just need to do a git pull and then I'd have to approve it. But yeah, this is all stuff that you guys could do if you wanted to learn how to do this stuff. Right. All right. So anyways, that's pretty good for that. Pretty good for that kind of stuff. I think that's, let's see. Yeah, I think we pretty much hit all of them. So I guess what we could do then is just hang out in the lab. Let's make sure the servers are all pretty good. Let's check all our servers out. I haven't checked the servers in a while. So let's just bang 860, which is going to be Ansible, all servers, -m shell uptime. While we're doing that, we're going to go pop over here. We're going to actually look to see if any of the nodes are down. Looks like all of them are up here at least. And it looks like all of them are up here at least. So that's good. I don't see anything blatantly crashed here. But let's do this real quick. Let's also say, well, some of these have been up 48 days. That's a long time for my Hammer servers. So we're probably going to reset the whole environment. So let's do it like this. Let's say... we're going to reboot them, but we're going to do them slowly. And we'll go... There's two ways we could do this. We can do it with Ansible like this. And we could let it go every 5 at a time. Or... and then I'll hammer the system, but it shouldn't be too bad. Let's yeah, we do that. That's fine. We'll just hit them. We'll just hit them all with the. We'll just hit them all with a reboot. That's fine. Just reboot everything. We give the cluster a little bit of a cleanup. So, hey, Lazarbiska, thanks for the Prime. You can use that anywhere. Oh, that's a normal sub. Thanks for that. You can use those anywhere as well, but you use it here, so that's always cool. Yeah, 99. That is true. Limit would be useful because I could have limited it to like a few at a time. But yeah, there wasn't a good way really to filter that. What I was actually gonna do was I was just gonna loop over them with just a for loop, and then I was gonna just wait like every 5 or something. But that's fine, and we can just watch one of them boot just for fun. Make sure that we see it come up clean on the console. But then what I like to do with this is we'll go time. We'll do sleep. Let's do sleep. We'll go 300. So we'll give it 5 minutes and see how many of them come up in 5 minutes. Here's the first. Here's one of them booting. We're gonna see him pull his information and then start to download as Hammer 1. Yep, Hammer 1, and he's pulling his stuff from the Werewolf server. If I was in the other room still, I would hear the server spin up big time in there. In fact, I might be able to hear it if I look over here. Nope, can't hear it. Can't hear it. I got the music up too loud. So that's going to download. Yep, and then it's going to download its InitRAM FS, and then we'll see that box come up and see all the servers come up healthy, and we'll be good. Lazarbiska, I'm doing very good. Thanks for the happy birthday. Yeah, it is my birthday. I am waiting for. So what am I doing today? In about an hour? No, about 2.5 hours. right at noon, I'll have an hour long, like a huddle session for my college students. I call it a college class because I think that's what most people would call it. But it's really just a huddle session. It's basically like office hours. If you guys have ever heard of office hours, I'm going to be sitting there in one of the channels for an hour that any of my students can come in and ask me questions. And any student in the department can come and ask me questions as well. So like in this class, like I have about 60 students, and because it's online, and then the other professors do as well. And any of them, like, so we all publish our office hours to all the other ones. So if anybody needs help for this Saturday from 12 to noon my time, I think it's like 3 to 4 Eastern, they can just come and hang out with me, and I'll answer their questions. I'll walk them through labs and that kind of stuff. So anyway, so that's what I'm doing on my birthday. I'm also the on-call for NOAA today, so I'm like on call until Wednesday, so I'm just keeping track of all the weather and making sure all our servers are working and stuff. So secret, thanks for that. Yeah, happy birthday. Yep, I appreciate it. My goal is to get you guys into doing this stuff professionally, right? I want you guys to know that there's a group out there that, like, we're not like, hobbyists are great, right? Like, we're all hobbyists, right? Everybody does this stuff for fun, but the goal of our group is to show you guys how to do this stuff in the enterprise, right? How to show somebody that you can do the work, and how to show somebody you will do the work. In fact, I was doing this the other day. I was working through, I had just found a bunch of job, I think it's, that was our thing from earlier. Yeah, I had found just a bunch of jobs that were out there. This was a Linux systems administrator on DICE, and we were just walking through all the things that they were asking for, and then we were writing up what I think you need to study or know. I had only gotten down to number 10, so I didn't even get into the other 3. And for fun, I had added one that is not Linux related, but a process improvement engineer, because I often tell you guys, an engineer is an engineer is an engineer. Like, you can do Linux and be a Linux engineer and be a Linux professional, but then go off and do mechanical engineering on top of Linux. And then you can do, there's even a lot of network engineering on top of it. There's all kinds of things that Linux is going to take you into that, like I tell people, when you get into Linux or when you get into networking as well, you don't know. Electrical engineers are the same way. You have no idea where your career is going to go. You have no idea what they're going to have you doing. So you just have to get ready for it. Anyways, well, with process improvement engineering, this is something I've heavily done in my career, where it's like dealing with how things work and how to make them better. And one of the big parts of this that I'm always kind of harping on with you guys is like Six Sigma, understanding how to make a process work better, because you understand how the process works, and then you start to tune things to make parameters better, and each output between each input, and all that stuff, and understanding how that we call them swim lanes, how the organization is correct and stuff like that. So also my general talk that I do every year. So we have a big group thing coming up, right? By the way, guys, we have group stuff always going on in Discord. There's a bunch of events coming up. There's a Bash study group in a little bit, but we have a thing in August coming up where we just do the annual conference, and people tend to like that. We have a few hundred people come through typically over the course of those days. This is way lower than the actual attendance of it'll be, I assure you. Those will blow up when we get closer to it, because a lot of people will be interested. I bring in a lot of guest speakers. Well, anyways, my talk that I do there, I started last year and I'm going to do it again this year, but it's going to be updated. It's called Why Engineering. And all I do in there is just keep showing you more and more of like how engineering ties into everything, whether it's systems engineering or network engineering or security engineering or whatever we're doing. Engineering is engineering, right? And some of you guys have seen that talk before, or variations of it, right? So anyways, that's what that kind of looks like. Hammer 1's up. Let's go look at Hammer 2, see if he's still booting. Yeah, he's up. So when this 5 minutes is up, which is probably not too long, we're going to see how many of our servers are up and if we need to go check any of them. Yeah, there it goes. It's popping off. Let's go check 3 while we're waiting. Whole bunch of them down. Rocky 1 says he's down? Oh, well, maybe those ones are not going as fast. All these Hammer ones are up. That's good. Rocky 1, is he down for real? Yeah, see, there's all the Hammer ones. Yeah, so he's still... Rocky 1, and these guys have SC Linux on, so they're taking a little longer. But we got most of the Hammer ones back up, which is fine. The Rocky box, it's actually funny. Rocky are on the same one with Werewolf, so Maybe I don't know why they would be slower, but all right, almost all the hammer came back up. The long pole in that tent must be the SC Linux, because look, there's SC Linux on all these. So that's them. Yep. So they're all relabeling their SC Linux. Let's give it we'll go 180. So we'll give it 3 minutes. Right? Give it 3 minutes of wait time, and then we'll haze. To be fair, one does not simply walk from computer science into electrical engineering. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, you don't walk into electrical engineering, that's for sure. But my point is, like, when you go into any of those fields, you don't know where, like if I was talking to a bunch of electrical engineers that were about to graduate, I'd be like, I have no idea where you guys are going to go, right? You have no idea where you're going to go. You might be working on satellites, you might be working on these little chips that read my common access card. You know, you have no idea what you're going to do. So it's interesting though, right? There's a lot of stuff kind of going on with that. Thanks for the follow, Cardus Benedictus. That's a great name. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Yeah, hopefully that. Hold on a second here. That's annoying. So we'll see if that. Hopefully that doesn't cause problems. Hopefully Twitch is smart enough that if like somebody leaves and somebody joins, it doesn't keep like triggering the 5,000 like it just did. That's ridiculous. Yeah. There we go. All right. So we'll let this sit for a second. Sleep 180. Then we're running our playbook against all the servers. We can also fork that larger so that's not just every 5, but we'll leave it like it is for now. And then we're almost at about 2 hours. I'll probably stop in about the next 20 minutes or so, but we'll just do a little bit of checking around in the lab. And then I do need to clean up. There's a few things that I want to do around how you guys are logging into the servers, where I'm going to clean that Bastion process up so the Bastion process is a little more clean. Currently, you jump into the Bastion, you get one of your configurations. Basically you pick that you either want to go into Rocky 1 through 19, or if you're on the MC Hammer side, you go Hammer 1 through 24, and then you just get in that node. And if you're sharing that node with somebody, fine, but if not, whatever. What I'm going to do is I'm going to strip it all back, and there's only going to be one login. And that one login you're going to pick if you want to do the labs for sysadmin, or if you want to do the systems engineering or security engineering. And then that's going to go check for one of those nodes to be both available and nobody on it. And if it's available and nobody's on it, boom, it's going to drop you in it. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to shrink the capacity down. So instead of having 25 hammers and 19 Rocky servers that you can have conflicts on, we'll probably only have like 5. But then every time somebody logs out, we're going to actually have it reboot. And then when it reboots, then we'll also put it back in. And then, so the point is we'll have a much more constrained way of giving you guys those servers. And then we're going to take all the extra capacity and we're going to do some other stuff with it. So Hayes said, can you dump burning oil on intruders from your Bastion server? Yeah, actually, you probably should, in fact. Me and the wife were rewatching Braveheart the other night. And if you guys remember when they sack York, they pour the oil down on the guys. And then William Wallace and his buddies get up there and they start jamming the battering ram in. So I was explaining to her how that's technically a siege engine, right? She's like, what's a siege engine? And I'm like, my wife. My wonderful wife who doesn't know anything about siege engines, right? So, to be fair, I never had to use a siege engine, but I've definitely been in war. So, as a foot soldier, in fact, as an infantryman. So, anyway, so there's all our servers back up right there. So everything's up, everything's been triggered. But the crux of that fix will happen here. Let's become this cd var ch root, and then in here bin. So in here we're just sending you to a node, right? 1 through 15, and then you should make your selection or whatever. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that much smarter, where as you go to check, it's going to just have you sit there, and then it's going to go and check the things, and then it's going to come back with only the node that you should be able to connect to. However, I'm trying to think. No, there shouldn't be anything that I need to consider there as far as like giving extra stuff to the jail. Like the jail's pretty locked down. You have Bash, you have SSH, and you have curl. Those are the three things you're allowed to do in there. But we do have, let's pull this up real quick, in the Prolog presentations. Nope, up one. Prolog presentations over here. In the security engineering course, when we did Bastions. Yeah, Bastions here. I really like these. I went and generated some little silly. I went and did this. Right. So you're talking about the Bastions. As we were talking about what an air-gapped system is and how all these things work out, I was messing around mostly with Bastions and the network boundary and stuff like that. And then this was like in a Bastion. Yeah, so if they were all piled up right here being blocked out, yeah, you could get oil up here and drop them on the penguins if you wanted to. By the way, these are all recorded. All these sessions when we were talking about this stuff and working on this stuff, it's all recorded for you guys that want it. We built Bastions by jailing users, and then we looked at how Bastions worked, and then how we jailed our little Linux users that were coming in, right? Fucking Linux guys. All right, hey, that's all on there. So then we built it all up, and we did this stuff, and yeah. All right. But lots of stuff going on over there for you guys to mess with. But just real quick, one last little time, I'll explain to you guys. We have a Discord that you can go hang out in. The Discord is free. Let me link it to you guys. Go drop it on the YouTube side as well. So you guys have it. You can hang out in there, talk shop with everybody. There's a meeting coming up in about 2 hours for people that are doing Bash, want to get better at Bash. Bash is very important because it's how we interact with the operating system. So it's Bash is, I mean, it's almost like Bash is Linux is Bash. Now I realize that they're not the same thing, but what I'm saying is for people that are doing Linux admin work, that is the number one way you're going to interact with the Linux shell or with the Linux system is through Bash. So understanding Bash is huge. Can you use C shell? Can you use Corn shell? Maybe if the company will let you, but for the most part, I'd definitely learn Bash if I wanted to go do anything in the systems world. Tomorrow there's some writers' room stuff. There's some study groups. We've canceled all the meetings today. We normally have the Linux admin course and the Linux security course today. Those are right here, but they are canceled for this week, so they start back up on June 14th. Linux sysadmin course will be in week 11, right? So we're going through and we're all the way up to week 11. The security engineering course is done, but we're going to do a week 11 to meet and people that want to talk and commiserate and tell me what they think would be good to add or what they think was too much or whatever. We can talk about all that stuff. Additional things, if anybody cares, we're doing some planning around. The next course I'm gonna run is gonna be, well, probably these ones again as people want them, but for sure next one is gonna be the automation course. So I'm gonna heavily go into Ansible. We'll do some Bash automation as well, but heavily Ansible and probably some Python for automation for like a sysadmin, systems engineer type stuff. That's my next planned course right there. So this security engineering course that we did was a blue team. It was all like protection and defense, and we're gonna do one soon that's gonna be red team stuff. And we may even have a game that I start playing on stream with you guys called Hammer Block. This is a thing that we used to do at Lockheed Martin that I think you guys might like. You get dropped in as either a red or a blue. And I have to figure out a way when people want to sign up for it, like on stream, to just drop you in red or blue. And then what will happen is you'll get either the red or the blue credentials. You'll drop in, and then you basically have a free range of an environment to try to grab tokens and stuff like that. Some people call that that's CTF stuff. But well before anybody ever coined that term CTF, we were calling it just rooting boxes on the internet, right? Even before there were laws against it, it was just rooting boxes, and what we called it at Lockheed was Hammer Block. So that's the thing we would do. But I guess most people, more modern way would be like Hammer Block. I guess you'd call it like CTF, but I don't know. I feel like that attracts the wrong crowd. Anyways, right? Lord Process said networking course. You know, I do a fair amount with networking in the Discord, but I never get a lot of traction, right? Like I post stuff up. Like I always have things going. Like I kind of had a course going, but it was like an informal one, and I just didn't get a lot of interest in it. So, Lord Processor, what I might do is maybe continue adding to some of the stuff that I've done, right? Like I have these threads that I had started where you guys could comment. So it was like read pages of this book and then talk about it, and then it was like get in there and discuss, and like we just didn't. There was no. So if I made a course for it, it would probably be more of like a Wireshark course. And actually, it's funny. I just saw that there's a Wireshark. Did you guys know there's a Wireshark certification? I didn't even know that. I just saw that the other day, and I was like, that's kind of interesting. I bet some of these guys would go do that. But it's just like a Wireshark, like basically being able to use Wireshark. And I'm like, that would be a good one. Even if people didn't want the cert, that would be a good one to walk through and make sure somebody knows how to do all those things. Because you could be a pretty competent network engineer if you really understood Wireshark and what was going on in the system. Now, obviously, you still need to know your command line to go and configure devices and stuff. But I'm just saying, like, end to end and reading like TCP dumps out of servers, like PCAP files and stuff, you could be, if you knew how to use Wireshark pretty well for filtering, you could be a pretty competent network engineer, I think. So that's, I don't know, that's just my thoughts on it. But all right, so anyways, that's if I do something like that, Lord Processor, it'll heavily revolve around this book, which I always tell you guys is like one of the best books around for this. It's an old book, but it's a free book. Free is great, but it's also super accurate. Look, it even says archived here, but it's still really good. I mean, TCP/IP hasn't fundamentally changed for almost 40 years, so I'll drop that book for you guys if anybody wants it. But for like sysadmins are always telling me how much networking do I need to know. They're always asking me about that stuff. I would tell you need to know probably pretty well up through pages 170 of this book. That's typically what I tell people. You know, maybe you can skip some of this first stuff, the real low level stuff, but like you might not need to know everything about FDDI and ISDN and stuff. Those are a little dated, but definitely the internet working protocols and how things work all the way up through 170. Then there's some security stuff later on that I think is also super valuable, but this is almost certainly a Lord Processor. If I were to put together a networking, like just a course, it would follow this book heavily. Because one, the book's free, so nobody has to pay anything for it. And two, the concepts are right there for you to go spend time with. And I think that's a big value for most people. But no, could I show you guys how to do that stuff? Yeah, that's what I teach in college, so I could definitely show you guys networking. Got into networking 25 years ago, right? So, all right. Well, what we should do, because we're hitting 2 hours right now, should probably go find somebody to raid over on the Twitch side. YouTube side, we don't have anything cool like that, but my thoughts on a lot of this stuff are you have to spend time getting better every day at this stuff. We were talking about this down in the Discord, How much are you, I think I put it in general. How much are you guys doing of this? I think I put it right here. Shit, maybe I didn't do it. I don't know where I put it. I thought it was right here in this, but it was like something like, what would you... Yeah. Are you studying something relevant every day? Are you coachable? Can you take correction? That's an important thing. I mean, I think a lot of people, like, we even had a couple of guys who, like, there was a little dust up in the server a few weeks back, and 2 people got timed out. That's all that happened to them. They got timed out for a week. Couldn't talk. Couldn't be an asshole in the server for a whole week. And they both chose to leave. And it's like, well, it is what it is, right? You chose to leave. So, are you coachable? Can you take correction? And you say, well, what was the terrible thing they did? They didn't do anything terrible. They just wouldn't stop being in server room. Like, they wouldn't stop being in the chat rooms when people were trying to have meetings. That was it. People had these events up here that are set for people to come and study, and they just wouldn't stop what they were doing so that people could do stuff in there. That was it. And you say, well, did you warn them? Yeah, we warned them a few times each. And it just, it is what it is. But anyways, can you work with others? This is another one that's big, man. Most people quit jobs because they can't fucking work with their coworkers. Not their bosses, it's their coworkers, right? And, like, you're going to have to work with every type anyway, so you might as well just get used to working with them, right? But whatever, but you might as well practice it. Might as well get used to working with people. Anyways, I posted that the other day, and I don't remember why I'm bringing that up now, but I think it's important. Looks like people found out it was my birthday down in Discord too. So, and the bot's gonna give me crap every time you say the word Scott in Discord. So, there you go. All right. So I'm gonna go find somebody to raid. I appreciate you guys all coming by. I will not be back on, but I will definitely be on tomorrow, and we will be heavily doing labs. Sundays are always for labs. We just hammer them out and get as much stuff done as we can. But yeah, let's go find somebody to raid. Who's doing stuff on Twitch over here? Rob's walking around doing just chatting, so we'll go raid him. So I appreciate you guys coming by. I will see you guys tomorrow.